Okay, so we all know our age, right? The number of candles on the birthday cake? But what if I told you that your body might have a totally different age, that it could be aging way faster or even slower than the calendar says? Today, we're going to dig into the incredible new science of biological age and these hidden clocks ticking away inside our very cells. Let's get into it.
In the natural world, figuring out age can be pretty straightforward. With trees, it's simple. You just count the rings.
And for narwhals, the so-called unicorns of the sea, well, the secret to their age is hidden right there in the layers of that incredible tusk.
And get this, for blue whales, the biggest animals on the planet, it all comes down to their layers of earwax. Yeah, you heard that right. Earwax.
But what about us? We don't have rings or tusks or, well, you get it. So for humans, what's the tell? How do we really know how our bodies are aging?
Well, it turns out scientists have found that we don't have just one clock, but a few different invisible ones ticking away inside us. Let's break down the three big ones.
First up are telomeres. The easiest way to think about these is like the little plastic tips on the ends of your shoelaces. They're these protective caps at the very end of our DNA strands, and their whole job is to keep our chromosomes from fraying and getting all messed up. So, here's the crucial part: how they work as a clock. Every single time a cell divides, a tiny little piece of that telomere cap gets clipped off. It gets shorter. And it keeps getting shorter and shorter with every division until eventually it's just too short. At that point, the cell can't replicate safely anymore, so it just stops and eventually dies. This gradual shortening was actually one of the very first biological clocks that scientists discovered.
Okay, moving on to our second clock. This one is working at an even tinier scale. It's called DNA methylation. All this is really are these little molecular tags that can attach themselves to your DNA. And their job is to act like light switches, basically, controlling which genes in your body get switched on and which ones get switched off.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Scientists figured out that at very specific spots on our DNA, these little tags get added or removed in a super predictable pattern as we get older. This pattern, which might be influenced by things like stress or maybe just random mistakes when our cells copy themselves, creates a measurable rhythm. And scientists have given this pattern a name, the epigenetic clock.
And our third clock is a little different. It's not about our DNA, it's about our immune system. It's a process that scientists have nicknamed inflammaging. It's exactly what it sounds like, a state of chronic, low-level inflammation that just kind of creeps up as we get older, even when we're not sick or fighting anything off.
So, why does this happen? Well, the jury is still out, but there are a couple of leading ideas. The first one is basically just wear and tear. A lifetime of fighting off colds, dealing with stress. It all adds up and takes a toll. The second theory points the finger at these old, retired cells. They're called senescent cells that have stopped dividing but are still hanging around, pumping out these inflammatory signals that raise the overall noise level of inflammation in the body.
So you take these three clocks together, the telomeres, the epigenetics, and the inflammation, and you get a totally new way of thinking about, well, age itself.
And this brings us to the most important idea of all. You've got two kinds of age. On one hand, there's your chronological age. Super simple. It's the number of years you've been on Earth, and it ticks by at the same rate for absolutely everyone. But then there's your biological age, and that is a measure of the actual wear and tear on your body, the accumulated damage. And this clock, it ticks at a different speed for every single one of us.
This is a perfect way to see it. Let's say you have two people, person A and person B. Both are 45 years old on their driver's license. But because of their genetics, their lifestyle, their environment, person A might have a biological age of 40. They're aging well. Meanwhile, person B could have a biological age of 52. Same chronological age, but their bodies are on two totally different timelines.
So what does all this mean for us? For the future? Let's take a quick look at where all this amazing science might be headed. First, a quick reality check. You might see tests online that promise to tell you your biological age. Right now, I'd say save your money. Their accuracy for a single person is, let's just say it's debatable. These clocks are incredibly powerful for studying huge populations, but not so much for a one-on-one diagnosis. And for now, most of the attempts to seriously turn back these clocks haven't really worked out.
But the promise for tomorrow? Oh, it's huge. Just imagine a future where your doctor tracks your biological age. If they see it start to speed up, that could be an early warning to look for health problems, maybe years before you'd feel any symptoms. It also gives us a brand new way to see if things are actually working. Like, is that new diet or exercise plan really making you healthier on the cellular level? We could finally measure that.
But all of this incredible potential, all of it, really hinges on one huge, unanswered question that sits right at the heart of all this science.
This quote from the research really just nails it. It says, "We may be learning to read the language of aging, but we still have a way to go in understanding its grammar." In other words, scientists are getting amazing at reading the signs, the short telomeres, the methylation patterns, but they don't fully get the underlying rules yet. They're recognizing the words, but the grammar is still a mystery.
Which leads to the fundamental debate in the whole field. Are these clocks the cause of aging, or are they just a symptom? Are they the actual engine driving the process, or are they more like the odometer in your car, just passively recording the mileage while some other, deeper process is really doing the work? We just don't have the answer. Not yet. And that leaves us with this final, massive question to think about. As we get better and better at reading this language of aging, are we just going to be passive observers? Or are we actually on the verge of learning how to intervene? To not just read the language of aging, but to maybe, just maybe, learn how to rewrite it?